Am I the idiot for publicly calling out the school nurse? My male 34 daughter has type 1 diabetes. Female 11, for the most part, she handles it like a champ, but she's a kid. Sometimes it sucks. I don't blame her when she's upset about it. She's gotten very good at managing how she's feeling and speaking up when she feels off or wrong. That said, she's 11, and the nurse and 2 of her block teachers are meant to supervise when she gives herself medication. We have a 504 plan in place at her school and have had it in place since diagnosis. I have conferences with teachers every year, and since she started at the middle school this year, her new nurse and administrative staff. I let my daughter speak her piece and let her feel heard. She struggled with non-school extracurricular before ignoring her concerns when she says she doesn't feel good because she looks fine. This school year started at the end of August, and we met a week prior. I got a call Monday afternoon while I was at work saying that the school bus driver had to call the ambulance for my daughter on the way home because she fainted. My job is 40 minutes away, so I said I would meet them at the hospital. She was awake and chatting with her nurse when I got there. Her blood sugar had dropped very, very low while she was at school. She was feeling better and didn't seem too bothered, so I took her home once allowed and let her pick a movie to watch. Once the movie was over, I asked if she didn't feel good at school. I needed to make sure she wasn't ignoring her symptoms and had eaten lunch. She told me that she felt weird just before the end of the day, and checked her sugar with her teacher, who had sent her to the nurse when it was really low. When she told the nurse she needed glucagon, the nurse said no and she should take it at home when she gets there. At this point, I was raging. The nurse did not give her medication and then sent her to the bus. The 504 plan in place has a stipulation that if her blood sugar is too low at the end of the day, she cannot take the bus home. The nurse is supposed to give her glucagon, and I get called to pick her up/arrange someone to take her home. The bus drivers aren't trained to know what to look for or to give her medication. I called the school Tuesday morning to arrange a meeting to talk about what happened. We scheduled it, but it hasn't happened yet. In the meantime, I went wild. Mile-long Facebook post with pictures of the 504 and hospital bill and me ranting. It kind of took off and got a lot of attention. Last night, my siblings and coworkers started telling me maybe I went too far in making the post, specifically in my naming the nurse. It was shared in a couple of different pages on Facebook for our county and town, and a lot of people have been making comments on the school board's social media about the nurse. A lot of the outrage comes from other parents with kids on 504 or IEP plans. Am I the idiot for calling out the school/nurse? Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. The nurse neglected a medical plan and your daughter got sick because of it. I'd do the same thing. If she can't care for the children and do her job, then she doesn't need to be a nurse. Comment 2. Not the idiot. The nurse was wildly irresponsible for sending a child with a low blood glucose level anywhere, never mind onto a bus. I would have reacted exactly the same way. She put your baby's life at risk, and that is the worst distress someone can cause a parent. That said, just double check with someone in the know to make sure that there are no potential legal ramifications to your post. Perhaps a disclaimed post out to say that you're speaking to the school and the result of that is pending just to cover yourself. Now for the update. In short, the nurse was fired. She was reported to all necessary persons by myself and the school. My daughter is fine. She is in a new school. We're reviewing her treatment and school plans with doctors. That day, my daughter's last block teacher had gone to the nurse to check in on her because she knew her sugar was too low to go on the bus. She didn't see my daughter there and asked the nurse, who told the teacher she dismissed her, to the bus. Internally, the teacher reported the nurse before I even knew what happened. My lawyer came to the meeting with me. The school was already in damage control mode and as apologetic as could be. They let me know the nurse was put on leave by the next morning. Their lawyer came with an offer to pay the medical bills. He talked about how they would be meeting with the teachers' union so they could properly move forward with the nurse's dismissal. My lawyer and I left, and he said they were doing everything they could to not have me sue them. I chose not to sue so long as they covered the hospital bills and damages. For those who asked about glucagon injection without her passing out, that day, her vision went black, she was dizzy, and she was stumbling once in the nurse's office. Other health things, she's getting a CGM and a phone. Regrettably, I was not above bribing her. We're revising her plan and talking to her new school about all of the changes. For those concerned about my using the nurse's name, my lawyer had no concerns since her name was in multiple places associated with the school and her place of employment was on her own social media sites. Since during the meeting it was confirmed what happened with my daughter, and what she told me was accurate, he didn't think she would have any grounds to stand on if she wanted to pursue action against me. For those who commented I was TA for sharing my daughter's info on Facebook, I have 50 friends who are majority family. I also always check with her when I post pictures and about what I share. That's the easiest place for multiple people to get quick and or big updates at once. Some of the older family members check Facebook more than their emails. You can be upset I shared this, but this system has worked for us. Family gets updates of what she's okay with them all knowing. I didn't think my Facebook could share my posts, but my privacy settings were open. That's since been fixed. Also, since if you asked, I am my daughter's only parent. Her mother gave up all rights and no longer lives nearby, which is why she is not in the list of emergency contacts. For obvious reasons, I'm still upset about it all, but my daughter is acting as if nothing ever happened. She's fitting into her new school well, and she's as happy as ever. Comment 1. I'm glad to hear this. Glad that the school did the right thing. If it were me, I'd get that teacher a gift card to Barnes & Noble, Starbucks, or Amazon. I'm actually a little sad you moved your daughter to a different school. She had a teacher who cared enough to go check on her in the nurse's office, and the school was proactive about making it right. Bad things happen, but the willingness to address it and fix it is what's really important. And a teacher who goes out of her way to check on her students is worth her weight in gold. Comment 2. You're the idiot. Are you kidding me? You not only publicly shamed the school nurse but also shared personal medical information about your daughter on Facebook? That is a gross violation of privacy and a clear overreaction to the situation. Yes, the nurse made a mistake by dismissing your daughter to the bus when her blood sugar was low. However, the appropriate response would have been to address the issue with the school and work towards a resolution, not to publicly shame and name the nurse. What purpose does that serve other than to create a toxic environment and potentially harm the nurse's reputation? Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for hiding my daughter's autism from her? So pretty much, most of her life, our daughter, female 14, had various issues. She had a speech delay, didn't make eye contact, was extremely hyperactive, had trouble making friends, fidgeted a lot, was extremely strict with rules, and a whole bunch of other stuff. My wife and I suspected that she may be autistic, and we took her to a psychologist when she was 4. The psychologist diagnosed her with hyperactivity disorder, although we don't know if it coexists with her autism or if it was a misdiagnosis. From 8 to 11, we gave our daughter as much early intervention as possible. She'd seen behavioral and speech, she was able to speak, but had a speech impediment, therapists. I've given her various books about how to make and keep friends. At that point, she was a bookworm. We got her placed in a social class to help her build social skills. It wasn't until the end of her 4th grade year that she actually got diagnosed with autism. Her psychologist was excited to tell her, but my wife was against it. She wanted to wait until we felt our daughter was old enough to understand. We are aware of the stigma neurodivergent people experience, and she didn't want our daughter to go through that. I agreed to hide it from her until she reached adulthood. This next part is relevant. When our daughter got into grade 6, she was bullied due to her autistic traits. She was gaslit, taken advantage of, and had many false friends who backstabbed her. It made our daughter insecure about her poor social skills, and that was when she started to mask. It left her with such immense trauma that she still has triggers and is in therapy. Today, she came to us and asked, "What is autism?" We told her it is a different way of thinking. She was confused since she didn't know we meant it in a sense that autistic people have a different brain chemistry from neurotypicals. After we elaborated, she told us the reason why she asked. She found out that she is autistic. She apparently found some of her old medical records lying around and read them out of curiosity. She was upset and asked us how we could hide this from her. We explained that we wanted to tell her when she was older since we didn't want her to get hurt by other people. She angrily yelled that she did get hurt anyways. She said that all this time she thought that there was something wrong with her, but if it weren't for us she wouldn't have taken the bullying to heart and she would have felt differently, but instead we made her pain worse. Now she's in her room crying and refuses to speak to either of us. We are starting to wonder if we should have told her about autism when we knew. Now for a few comments before the update. You're the idiot. I am autistic and was diagnosed as an adult. Getting my diagnosis was like an epiphany. So much of my life suddenly made sense, and I was able to explain to people in my life that I needed something different, and why. It was empowering. I wish that it had been diagnosed years earlier, not only because of the support I could have had, but because it could have saved me decades of heartache and situations arising that I didn't understand. You denied her that understanding and ability to advocate for herself. Comment 2. You're the idiot. What exactly did you think not telling her would protect her from? That it would magically make the other kids not notice she was different? Seriously, take a step back and consider how you would feel if someone kept this sort of important info about yourself from you. Now, for the update. Her mother and I were completely in the wrong. We should never have tried to hide an integral part of our daughter's identity. We thought we were protecting her, but we only made it worse. I didn't know that it wasn't right at the time, but now I do. We come from a country where mental stuff isn't talked about. If anything, the person gets stigmatized for it, so we did our best to support our daughter with what we knew at the time. This isn't to excuse our actions, but rather to explain them. A few hours after posting my original post, her mother and I had a long talk about this, reflecting on what we did wrong and what we should do moving forward. I gave her space for a day or two before knocking on her door and asking her if she wanted to talk with me about it. I apologized for what we did, telling her that we love her no matter what, and promised that we would be better parents moving forward. She says that she understands that we were just trying to do what we thought was the best for her, but she felt hurt that we kept these things from her, especially given what happened to her and having to find out from medical records of all things. She says that she isn't sure if she could trust us again for a while. Our daughter is still angry with us, although we understand why. She's at least on speaking terms with us again. We're doing our best to help our daughter through her journey of self-discovery at the moment. We got her another therapist to help her understand more about herself as well as accept the past bullying. Her mother and I are also doing research about how autism works, and we are looking to get her an IEP at her school to give her access to accommodations. In addition to this, we took some of your advice, and her mother and I have been seeking therapy to better understand our autistic daughter as well as family therapy. Thank you all for your judgment. Thanks to those who gave tips on how to support our daughter moving forward. I feel ashamed that I didn't realize sooner that I'd harmed our daughter. She seems happier now that she understands why she is the way she is. We fiercely love our girl and are lucky to have her. Comment 1. I'm one of the people who commented on the original about being diagnosed late in life. I'm glad you're accepting responsibility, but it is really on you and your wife right now to follow through. Therapy is great, but you're going to need to fight for her and really advocate for her. My experience with education, albeit in a different country, is that even when you clearly should get accommodations due to special educational needs, you may have to fight hard for them and face resistance. It may not be an easy path for you or her. Also, just a heads up that your daughter might mask less after discovering her diagnosis. It's not uncommon, and I mask a lot less with close friends and at home because I no longer feel obligated to try to appear neurotypical. For me, it's an incredibly positive thing to mask less, but I know it was a little adjustment for those around me who were used to me masking. Comment 2. Damn, it's a shame she suffered for this long, and that she's essentially traumatized. I don't want to say congratulations for doing the bare minimum, and I won't, but at least you're doing the right thing now. If you enjoyed today's video, you'll like these ones too. Thanks for watching and see you next time.